And this is isolated thriller. We've got a mountain cook in here, and I feel like my mood is always a little serial killer-y. But all in, I just couldn't wait to talk about some of these authors that I am just... Hi everybody, it's Audrey and welcome back to Chapter and Converse. So today I wanted to come on here and do a bit of a shout out to a bunch of authors who are new to me that I am just currently obsessing over. So in some cases they are debut authors, in some cases, thank goodness, they have a giant backlist and I have just discovered them recently, but I love finding new authors and I wanted to share the good word with all of you guys. I am also so excited to once again be partnering with Book of the Month on today's video. And one of the many things that Book of the Month does such an incredible job with is showcasing debut authors, as well as showcasing authors who have long backlists and who are well known. Book of the Month is an online book service for readers, and every month their team vets hundreds of books that are out there, and they pick some new release titles, they pick some early release titles, and they curate a collection so that you can spend your time reading the books and you don't have to spend your time doing all the research because they do it all for you. So you can get your first box for only $9.99 using the code GOMAY. And this is a totally risk-free service. So if somewhere down the road you find that like a book just isn't striking your fancy one month, you can just skip that month. So any month, anytime, you're not going to be charged for it. But when you are ready to get those new books, know that you are going to get brand new hardcover fiction for the best price out there. Book of the Month is now featuring 5 to 7 selections every month. So you have some main selections, you have an add-on, and like I said, different genres, debut, well-known authors. So there's always an opportunity for you to find something that you're going to love. So thanks to Book of the Month, I discovered Nita Prose, who wrote The Maid. I have the new Rachel Hawkins, which I'm totally excited about because she is someone I discovered last year that I absolutely loved. They highlight so many of my favorite authors like Bradley Sager and Taylor Jenkins Reid. So it really is such a great way, like I said, to experience authors that you know and love and also to discover new authors. So you guys know I'm obviously going to gravitate towards the thriller to begin with. So this is an isolated thriller. This is called Breathless by Amy McCulloch. So she is a new to me author. This is her adult fiction debut. So she's written some children and YA books before. So this is an isolated thriller. We are on the mountain. We have a journalist who is in over her head, and we have one of the climbers dies, it says, in what everyone assumes is a freak accident, but you know in an isolated thriller there are no accidents, so sign me up big time for this one. Another book I'm super excited about is Darling Girl, and this is by Liz Michalski, and this is a novel of Peter Pan. It's a retelling. We get the magic, we get the fairy tale. You guys know I read Peter Pan for the first time last year and have been gobbling up some retellings and reimaginings of this story. So I was so excited when I saw this one. It just looks so good. I cannot wait to dive into it. And then another book that I'm really excited about, which I've heard a bunch of hype about, is The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. And this is being compared to sort of a Mexican Gothic meets Rebecca. You guys know Rebecca was like a game changer for me. The fact that it took me as long as it did to read it. But I finally read it last year and I absolutely loved it. So I'm super curious about this book. So once again, you can get your first box for just $9.99 using the code GOMAY. All the information is in my description box down below. Thank you again to Book of the Month so much for sponsoring today's video, for introducing me to new authors. And now let's get into the video where I'm going to hopefully introduce you guys to some new authors too. So the first book I want to talk about, I just finished reading yesterday and I am still in the throes of like that book hangover mode. It's sort of like in the best way, but it's Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. So I had heard such great things about this book from like my trusted go-to reviewers and friends and people that I look to on Instagram and out in like the book blogger community. And I just heard such great things about his writing. And I watched an interview with S.A. Cosby and Jennifer Hillier, who you guys know I love. And they were talking about this and I was like, I need to dive into this book. So I had heard that this book was really violent, and it is. That was not a mislead. That was not a misdirect. It was spot on. But I have never read a book, I don't think, that like pops to memory that manages to put such brutal violence on the page, which is very necessary to the story. And I'm not one that is here for the gratuitous violence just for sport, but it 1000% lends to story here, but can also simultaneously write such beautiful lyrical words and descriptions and evoke such gut-wrenching, heartbreaking emotion and connection and family and love and learning. And it's just such an amazing book. I have Blacktop Wasteland, so my point being, first book I have read by S.A. Cosby will not be the last book that I have read by him. And if you guys have not picked this one up, I highly recommend it. This is his latest release and it came out last year. And this is about two fathers who have never met, but their sons were married. The fathers did not accept them. And when the book opens, we are at the funeral for both of the sons, who are, I want to say, like 27 years old. They have been killed in a double homicide, which has not been solved by the police at this stage. The fathers never accepted the fact that their sons were gay. They were not supportive of their marriage. There was an obviously very fraught relationship between them. But after they have been murdered, and like I said, the case has gone unsolved and has really gone cold, the fathers wind up banding together to find out what happened to their sons, to get revenge. So both fathers are ex-cons, both have a lot of history, a lot of connection, a lot of savvy when it comes to figuring out what happened. And this book touched me on such an emotional level that I wasn't expecting, and I just cannot wait to see what else S.A. Cosby has written. So it's time for me to hit the backlist. Another author who is not new, but who was new to me last year, is Catherine Ryan Howard, and this is The Nothing Man. So I have since read 56 Days. She has a few more backlists. She's got a new book coming out this year. She is a thriller writer, and what I love about her books so far is the creativity in the storytelling. This is a book within a book, which is one of my favorite tropes. This is hugely inspired by the Golden State Killer. We have a woman who is a sole survivor of one of those attacks. Her entire family was murdered when she was a child by a serial killer. And in present day, she's written a book about it. And when this book opens, there is a man who is a security guard at a store, and he picks the book up off the shelf and realizes he's reading about himself. So we get the past and the present. It's just so beautifully woven together. The characters are just so well drawn. I was completely hooked. And similarly in 56 Days, we have two different perspectives. We have the days right before the lockdown from the pandemic in Ireland. We have a couple who met in a store, in a supermarket. They just started dating and they decide to quarantine together because it's supposed to be 2 weeks. We all remember March 2020, quarantine for 2 weeks. And when the book opens, there is a dead body found in the apartment where they had been together. So we get some police investigation in that one. So I just love sort of the darkness of her books. It definitely gives me that dark and messed up feeling, the unlikable characters, but just such compulsive reads. And again, just so beautifully written, so well written, great stories, great twists, had me guessing. So I'm completely hooked on her books. Her new book, Runtime, which comes out in August, I want to say, I've already pre-ordered it, takes place on a movie set, but in the meantime, I do have some of her backlist to catch up on too. The next book is a 2021 debut and was one of my most favorite books of last year, and it's We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang. This was also a Book of the Month selection. This is actually an arc of the book, and I absolutely loved this one. So first of hers, waiting for more to come out, but this is a family story that focuses on Sunday Brennan. She is living in Los Angeles when the book opens. She is in a terrible drunk driving accident that she caused and is in the hospital, and one of her older brothers comes out to LA to get her and bring her back to New York to help her recover. Sunday is really resistant to coming back to New York because she left 5 years ago for her own reasons. So coming back now means having to confront her family and everything she left behind and all the reasons why she left, including that ex-fiance that she left behind, who is now married to somebody new. So it's a lot of family drama, but not like over the top family drama. I was into this book from the get-go, like completely just obsessed with these characters from the start, rooting for people, trying to figure out what was going on. There's a little bit of mystery in the element of like, why did she leave in the first place? But you really get like a really strong family connection here. There were parts of this that were sort of like a little bit reminiscent to me of Rachel's Holiday, which I just read recently and talked about. Rachel is in the hospital after overdosing in that book in New York and winds up going back to Dublin and having to recover in her family. While there is some darkness and comedy in that book, this book is really just, it's like the heartbreaking, heartwarming, gut-wrenching, trying to understand the complex relationship between the siblings and the parents and the children and the past history. And this book also has a great storytelling device, which I'm not going to tell you, let you figure it out by yourself when you read it. But we get multiple POVs, and I really like her chapter transitions and how she did it. But this is a book that, you guys know me, I am a deep, hard thriller reader. But this is a book that completely was as compulsive of a read as a thriller for me, despite not having thrillery aspects to it. And I just can't scream about it enough because I just love this book so much. Next up is an author who, thank goodness, has a very big backlist and also has new releases coming out, and it's Ragnar Jonason. So you guys have heard me talk about his Holda series. I am about to read book 3, which is the third and final in that series, which I'm very excited about. And because I am nothing if not obsessed, I managed to pick up 5 of the 6 books in the Snowblind series so far. So I'm putting all my eggs in the basket that I'm gonna love this one. I just need to pick up one more book. But this series also has just been so raved about, and these books are set in Iceland, and he writes detective series, but you also get, again, such strong character-driven stories. So as much as you have maybe a murder or a mystery or some sort of, like I say, police investigation going on, so far, for the Holda books, we have multiple timelines, but there is such a core of character which I find drives these stories, and he writes them so beautifully. And again, much like with We Are the Brennans, like I was instantly in, I was rooting for the characters, I felt like I knew them, and was so immediately invested in the stories. So shame on me, I feel like he has been around for a while and I really just missed the boat on him, but I feel like better late than never, which is sort of the whole point of this video, is finding new authors is just absolutely tremendous. So I'm a huge fan. His new book, Outside, just came out in the UK. My pre-order is literally in the mail. It comes out later here in the US, but if you like crime series, if you like detective series, I just highly recommend him. His books are such fast reads as well, and I just love everything he's done so far, and I just can't wait to read more of it. Switching back to something non-thrillery, but who I talked about last year as a debut author, one of my top 5 books of last year, favorite thrillers of last year. She has a new thriller coming out later this year, but in the meantime, we have a romance, Fool Me Once by Ashley Winstead. So my initial reaction was like, oh, I'm just like super excited for the thriller. I'll get to this maybe later. And I wound up getting the audiobook from my library, and I like turned it on, went for a walk. I think 2 paragraphs in, I was obsessed. I was laughing out loud as I was walking down the street like a lunatic. And I was like, all right, I need to just go buy this book too, because I already am tabbing things up. So I have to go back through my audiobook because I like earmarked the audiobook as I was going, bookmarking it so I can go back and tab it up. But I did a combo of reading and listening to this book, and you guys, at the very least, Ashley Winstead is a double threat because she can write tremendous romance women's fiction, she can write tremendous thrillers, and again, at the core, and I feel like this is the theme, such great characters. So her main character in this, Lee, is like the head of communication at a female-run electric car company, a la Tesla, but better than Tesla. And she is just crushing it at work. And then she sort of has like this other personality where she parties and she has a great time, and she's like a good time girl. Her name is Lee Stone. Her nickname is Stoner. And she is messy and she is complicated and she's made some choices. And one of those choices includes a relationship that she imploded in grad school to the point that she drove this guy out of the state of Texas. But in a enemies to lovers trope, he is back in Texas. They wind up having to work together on this clean energy bill that she's trying to get passed, and hijinks ensue. So I am going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that Ben is my latest and greatest crush in a book. I love him to pieces. I am obsessed with him. I am obsessed with Lee as well. She's such a great character. This book, again, it is laugh out loud funny. It is so heartwarming. It's all the things. It's like a kick in the gut. It's my heart breaks, my heart heals again. She's got such a tremendous group of friends. You've got family in this as well. I cried reading this book. I applaud her to pieces. She is such an incredibly talented writer. I am so glad that she is putting out books in different genres and seamlessly moving between the genres. So if thrillers maybe were not your thing, I would definitely pick up Fool Me Once. And if Ashley Winstead is your thing, I would pick this up, because I think you will find in this book the same things that you loved about the characters in My Dreams I Hold a Knife. Took me a beat, but she just writes such strong characters. Story comes from character with her, and I just love how human and real everyone feels in this. This is not this Instagram polished, filtered kind of a life. These are people I feel like I knew. I could see myself in a lot of these characters. And again, the laugh out loud factor to this book was beyond. I don't remember the last time I laughed this much reading a book. There are just some parts of this that are so great. So, love it. The next author is one that I have only read one book of so far, but again, thank goodness she has a giant backlist, and it's Sharon Bolton. So I read The Pact earlier this year, and I just absolutely loved it. Was it earlier this year? Let me just double check. Yep, read it in January. So this is another book of hers, The Craftsman, as you can see, as I'm holding it here, which I picked up because I just loved her writing so much. She wrote a book that was sort of a dark and twisted friendship book, like something happened in the past, we meet them again in the present, and it again, you guys know me, so there's obviously a theme to what I like, but these were characters who were willing to go to any end to protect their secrets. They make some really messed up choices, they do some really messed up things, they justify things in their head, they are living with consequences of their choices, and there's just such great complexity and sort of that darkness that lives in everyone and how certain circumstances bring things out in people. And I loved it. I just loved it absolutely so much. So I cannot wait to read what else she has written and see what else she has going on here. So this one is a police detective mystery, and it sounds like we've got past and present, and I just loved her writing. I just felt such a great connection to the storytelling, and it was such a fast-paced book, and I wanted to just get back to it constantly, and there's just nothing better than that when the writing in a book and the story of a book just makes you want to drop everything else you're doing and spend all of your time within that story. Such a great sign. So like I said, she has quite a long backlist. I am going to slowly work my way through it, and I will keep you guys posted. But I also, oh, I just totally made that up. I have Daisy and Chains too. I didn't make it up, I just misspoke. I also have Daisy and Chains, which I bought a while ago, which, wow, I got close to the camera there, is about like a serial killer and someone coming to investigate it. And I think she thinks he's not a serial killer. He is on, he's totally a serial killer. So as you can see, themes to the books that I love. But again, I'm just really excited to read more of her books, and I'm so happy I finally discovered her as a writer. And then the last book I want to talk about is one of my anticipated new to me authors, which I have all the confidence in the world is going to become a new favorite of mine. And it is Stacy Willingham and A Flicker in the Dark. So another serial killer themed book. And in this one, we have a main character. Her name is Chloe. So when she was younger, her father confessed to being a serial killer and killing a bunch of girls in their town. And in present day, Chloe is getting married, and girls start to disappear and girls start to get murdered, sort of in that same MO as her father. So a lot of questions start to arise about who's doing it. You know, does her dad have her reach from prison? Was he the person who did it in the first place? And it's bringing together, obviously, all of the things she dealt with in the past and crashing together with her present. And I've just heard such tremendous things about this book. So I have kind of been saving it for when I'm in a serial killery kind of mood, which, based on the fact that I just talked about other books of serial killers, you know, it's kind of, I feel like my mood is always a little serial killery. So I was just listening to a podcast where Stacy Willingham was talking about this book and her writing process, and I was like, goodness, I've been saving it for I don't know what. I need to pull it off the shelf and make it happen. So I have done just that, and I will let you guys know what I think. But here is my TBR book of an author that I am confident I'm going to fall in love with. So that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you again so much to Book of the Month for sponsoring it. I am so excited to dive into my isolated thriller, and again, to discover new to me authors. And you guys, don't forget, check my description box down below. I'll pin a comment too. You can get your first box for $9.99. Check out Book of the Month. It's such a great way not only to get brand new hardcover fiction for a fraction of what you would pay normally, but also to get exposure and to be able to discover all of these new authors, whether they are debuts, which are highlighted, or just new to you. Options are endless. So let me know, you guys, who is one of your new favorite authors that you've discovered this year, whether it's a debut author or just a new to you author, and we can talk about all that and whatever else you guys want to chat about down below. So thank you guys, as always, for spending part of your day with me. I really appreciate you being here, supporting my channel, and I will see you guys again very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.